Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back. We've got more Q to do, so grab your coffee, fist bump your neighbor, and get ready, because sometimes a leak turns into a flood. It's out of control. 3861 11. We get a link right here to the Washington Examiner. Q says, read carefully. Sound familiar? Sometimes a leak turns into a flood. Takes you to the Washington Examiner from February 14th, 2020, Valentine's Day. Durham scrutinizing John Brennan's handling of Russian interference in 2016. U.S. Attorney John Durham is reportedly reviewing John Brennan's analysis of Russian election interference, including scrutiny of the former Obama CIA director's handling of a secret source said to be close to the Kremlin. Durham, who was selected by Attorney General William Barr in 2019 to look into the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation and the government's response to Moscow's meddling, is investigating whether Brennan's CIA was attempting to keep other agencies in the dark as he pushed for a specific preconceived analytic assessment about Russia's true intentions in 2016, the New York Times reported Thursday. The top Connecticut prosecutors team reviewed emails from the CIA, FBI, and National Security Agency analysts who came together to assess Russia's interference, the new report revealed. And Durham's investigators pressed for answers about why some agencies, at least temporarily, denied other agencies access to secretive intelligence about the Kremlin's active measures campaign. Durham interviewed agents and analysts from all three agencies, and the report said he was scrutinizing whether the clash over intelligence sharing was the typical sort of bureaucratic turf battle over jealously guarded secrets, or an effort to cover something up. Much of this revolves around how the United States government eventually reached its January 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian meddling and whether Brennan was pushing for a biased result. One major battle was about the identity and credibility of a CIA source, allegedly close to the Kremlin. The NSA wanted more details about him, which the CIA resisted before providing them. Okay, so that's real key right there. The NSA then disagreed with the CIA and the FBI about how much confidence to place in the source. At least some intelligence officials were disturbed by a law enforcement officer such as Durham inquiring into the assessments made by intelligence agencies, though Durham played a similar role in his Obama-era investigation into the CIA's destruction of tapes showing the harsh interrogation of detainees. Durham hasn't yet interviewed Brennan, though the report said his emails and other records had been requested from the CIA by the U.S. Attorney retired Admiral Mike Rogers, who was head of the NSA at the time, was interviewed by Durham last summer and fall. The January 2017 intelligence community assessment in question concluded with high confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 and that Russia worked to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency, and develop a clear preference for President-elect Trump. The NSA diverged on one aspect, expressing only moderate confidence that Putin actively tried to help Trump's election chances and harm those of Clinton by contrasting her unfavorably. Now let me take it down a little bit further here. The committee noted the receipt of the sensitive intelligence prompted the National Security Council to begin a series of restricted principal committee meetings to craft the administration's response, and said the discussions were atypically restricted and excluded key officials who were normally clued in. Former Director of National Intelligence James Can't Shut His Yapper Clapper and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Samantha Power said that the extraordinarily restricted nature of the meeting meetings and departure from routine methods of disseminating intelligence were reminiscent of how they handled preparations for the Osama bin Laden raid. Former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates called it very cloak and dagger. Now, I know this is a bit lengthy, but let me skip you down to the bottom here. The Brennan relayed intelligence was likely detailed in a June 2017 Washington Post article, which stated that in early August 2016, the CIA sent an eyes-only envelope addressed to Obama that contained an intelligence bombshell from sourcing deep inside the Russian government that detailed Putin's specific instructions to help Trump and hurt Clinton in 2016. The material was said to be so sensitive it was kept out of the president's daily brief. Okay. So it was kept out of the president's daily brief, but not kept away from the president. Sounds to me like Obama knew about this. He got his eyes-only envelope, which means, at least for me, that there was somebody sitting in the daily brief that they didn't want to know about this. One day after Trump gave Barr full and complete declassification authority to examine the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation in May 2019, the New York Times published a piece on this source, long nurtured by the CIA, whom the outlet hinted was now in danger of being exposed in Russia. But he had already left the country. The source's initial resistance to being pulled out reportedly led some to question whether he might be a double agent. Hotly disputed reporting by CNN and others in September 2019 about the reason for the alleged source apparent 2017 exfiltration from Russia eventually exposed his identity and revealed he was living in the D.C. area. He's since been moved, and it is not known whether Durham has questioned him. Okay, so in my opinion, there's a couple key takeaways here. The first one being obviously that Durham is looking into John Brennan. That's going to be really, really key. And although a lot of people are talking about Andrew McCabe today, I still think the focus really should be on Durham and what he's going to do with all this. This doesn't necessarily take Andrew McCabe and put him off the hook, right? But this investigation is really what's going to be yielding any kind of results. And of course, if it doesn't, then I really think that we have the right to scrutinize and see what's up. But also in regards to this anonymous source here, if you will, this came right after Trump gave Barr the authority to declass. And this suggests me that this probably is one of our leakers. And of course, Q is saying sometimes a leak turns into a flood. Seems like odd timing that they would start leaking, right? Now, let me take you back to 1981, where Q says, what if a paper trail exists? PDB being Presidential Daily Brief via no such agency being the NSA. Hussein being Barack Hussein Obama, made aware with no action. Yeah, he was getting these eyes-only envelopes, which suggests to me that they wanted him to know. Well, why wouldn't they just put it in the Presidential Daily Brief if you wanted the president to know? That suggests that you want the president to know, but maybe somebody else in the room not to know. Why did POTUS refuse select PDBs during transition? Who knew? Threat assessment? In steps Admiral Rogers, and of course he did know, and he knew about the spying early on. He was the one that warned Trump, right? He warned him at Trump Tower, and of course the very next day the Trump team moves off to Jersey, right? Why did Hussein plus HRC plus admin plus staff plus ... use private emails to communicate? Well, there were quite a few people that were doing this, right? And they were using Gmail comms, and they were using all kinds of Xbox comms. There's all sorts of ways that they were using these comms, but in regards to their emails, they were kind of using these email drafts. They weren't really sending the emails. Some of them they were, but a lot of these they were just sending them in drafts, and they wouldn't actually click send. The other person on the other end would just have the password. They would be able to check the email, and no one would ever have to actually click send. Was HRC the only one to use unsecured servers? Yeah, doubtful. If she was stupid enough to do it, I'm sure others were too, right? If access was granted regarding HRC private service, can you assume access was granted regarding house servers regarding Awan, Pakistani intelligence, Awan Free, Huma, Muslim Brotherhood, matters of national security, Q? No, this was getting out all the way to China, and of course this was getting out to Pakistani intelligence, and Awan was selling it like Costco, right? He was just selling it all in bulk to the highest bidder. So there you have it, and it sounds like some of this information is going to be coming out at a later date, but again, I think it's really this Durham investigation that's going to show Brennan's role in this. And of course, Brennan was also leaking to the media, as well as James Clapper, right? These guys were big-time intelligence officials that just happened to go on CNN and get a contract after they were let go, yapping their snappers. Post 3862, 31 minutes after the hour of 11, we get a Twitter status to Andrea Junker on Twitter, who, as you can see, has me blocked. I guess my reputation precedes me. Well, it wasn't just me, it was a lot of you Anons. I guess she's blocking all Q folks. She's probably tired of hearing it. Anyway, thanks to the Anon who made this. I'm sorry, I don't know who to credit for this, but this was the tweet. I need someone to explain to me why Bill Barr can immediately sit down with ABC, but not under oath before Congress. Explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten. All right, well, as we know, the other day, Bill Barr went on ABC, and of course, he was sort of chiding the POTUS about his tweets, but he was talking about a lot of different things, right? And I think eventually we're going to see him give some testimony too. But this was all, like I said yesterday, just public yakety smackety, getting this stuff out into the open. And ABC, I was really surprised that ABC allowed this. And I was really surprised that ABC even did some pieces on Nancy Pelosi the other day. I find that very interesting that some of that was coming out through the mainstream media. Q says regarding delayed testimony. Number 1, allow for public dissemination of critical facts, possible unseals, D-class prior to world televised sit down. Okay, so it sounds like Q is hinting that something was unsealed or declassed before this. But of course, Bill Barr has already done the interview. Sometimes the necessary forum to update the American people is provided by those same people being investigated for. And then we have 3 dots, and it looks like a little bit of a space between that 4th one. I can't really tell. I think my eyes are playing tricks on me, but that might be some code right there if you are looking at those periods right there. American public is provided by those same people. So who are those same people? ABC? Are we talking about ABC? Is there somebody from ABC being investigated? Or are we talking about people like McCabe and Strzok and Page? Are these people the same people that are providing information? Release to change strategy. Watch what happens next. Let's watch what happens next. 3863, we have a blank drop. Oddly enough, at 129. And we just talked about this the other day. I showed you this watch from post 3685. And as you can see, the time on there is 129, interestingly enough. So it looks like we are looking at a time marker here. Now, Q has actually done this before, and oddly enough, this was last Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, 2019. This was post 2706. And we saw what looks to be a surveillance picture of China. We had a couple pictures from China, one landing at the airport and this other one looking at this parlor right here. Very interesting. So what does this have to do with China? What does this time marker have to do with everything? Not really sure, but I would imagine that it's not completely arbitrary. There is a reason for this timestamp, and I can't help but think this has to do with some sort of time marker. After all, Q just said, watch what happens next. Now, if you click that title over there at Qmap, it will take you to this link over here to a Coon, where we see this post from Lawfag, also posted at 129. Lawfag here, before everyone runs off the deep end, recall that the OIG referral is only in reference to an unauthorized leak to a media outlet. No other nexus of facts is involved. McCabe likely remains under investigation otherwise as part of the general FBI FISA abuse investigation. And I want to stop right there real quick. Keep in mind that we've been following the General Flynn thing for all this time, and of course he was being accused of lying too, right? Now, what was the prosecution finally recommending? Probation. You want to see that happen with McCabe? Probation for lying? Obviously, this leads to something bigger here. And don't forget, there was a grand jury formed against McCabe. They're not going to do that just to get this guy probation. There could be a lot of reasons for the OIG investigation being dropped. First, it appears that the CIA is the ringleader of misinformation and coup attempt, and we're probably going to see that. We've already seen that suggested in regards to the Durham report and his looking into Brennan, right? Perhaps it is best that McCabe maintain credibility as a possible witness in those investigations rather than lose credibility as a witness by being the defendant in the OIG referral matter. And I highly suggest listening to that again, because that's really, really key, right? If he's not a credible witness, then of course him actually going after big fish would be a lot more difficult. It's hard to say. Could also be that the OIG matter simply cannot be proved up at this point. And that's also true. If McCabe offered useful information, you might want to protect his credibility for future testimony. All this to say, this news is only in reference to a leak to a media outlet, not the larger investigation regarding FISA abuse. Yeah, so we have this going on right now, and of course a lot of people are freaked out about this, but it's still, I would say that I would maintain my point. You don't want to get McCabe for just simply lying, because this guy will end up getting off with just probation or something very, very lenient, right? And of course, we have Bill Barr going out on ABC already prepping the public narrative. And I do imagine that we will see him testify at some point, right? He's going to offer up his findings. We still have the Durham report that we want to look at. And it looks like Q has hinted that there has been some other things declassed. So there's a lot here still to expect. And I wouldn't let it all ride off of McCabe, but I also wouldn't assume that McCabe is off the hook. Post 3864, 52 minutes after the hour of 1, we get a little confirmation on basically what I just said right here. This is a Twitter status to John Cardillo, who says they've only dropped the investigation arising from Horowitz's 2018 referral. Remember, we saw something like this with Comey too. It's not really a big deal. This has nothing to do with Durham's investigation, which is still ongoing. Now, like I said before too, now if Durham's report comes out and we don't find anything, then we can really realize that we've been rigged and this is indeed a two-tiered system of justice. But this to me does not imply that. John Cardillo is retweeting Kyle Cheney, and this is essentially the document right here. And I'm just going to read you the first line. We write to inform you that after careful consideration, the government has decided not to pursue criminal charges against your client Andrew McCabe arising from the referral by the Office of the Inspector General, who doesn't really recommend that people get arrested in the first place, right? This is just showing some wrongdoing. So there you go. And that's about all the time I'm going to spend on that. Let's move on to 3865. 29 minutes after the hour of 2, we get a Twitter status to Danny Bag of Donuts Bongino. I'm not playing the game until the Durham investigation concludes. I strongly encourage you to do the same. Check this out for more details. Yeah, indeed. And he had a pretty good show today. I didn't get a chance to check it all out, but I do want to show you a little bit of it. Q says bigger slam dunk charges coming. Q, let's check it out.
We're now not supposed to question the CIA and John Brennan because they fell for the biggest political hoax in human history and failed to interview the main source for Steele, who, when he was interviewed, told everybody this was total hooey, garbage. How dare you question their skills there? By the way, don't you dare mistake this for an attack on people in the rank and file community there. I've worked with them overseas in Afghanistan in my prior line of work. They were terrific. You may say, well, why aren't they speaking out? Because this was being run from headquarters by Brennan. If rank and file CIA officers and analysts were involved in this case, they would have thrown it in the garbage heap a long time ago. That's how Brennan got this. He kept it isolated in a headquarters division and supposedly kept it out of the presidential daily brief to Obama. Why? Because the presidential daily brief to Obama, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to this. The presidential daily brief Obama gets every day from the intelligence community, delivered, is vetted through channels. Nothing makes it to the president's desk without being vetted multiple times. Why? So the president of the United States is not sort of war with Russia over intel on his desk that's fake. That's not what Brennan did with the Steele information about this fake collusion hoax and the PP tape and stuff. Brennan sent separate envelopes to Obama outside of the presidential daily brief, circumventing the analytical chain of command. Why? Because Brennan knows it's a lie.
So there you have it, and I agree with Bag of Donuts Bongino. This looks to be like a go for Clapper and Brennan. These are the guys that we really want to go for. Now, I do believe that Andy McCabe will be held responsible, as well as Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and all of them. But I do think that this is a plan to go after the big fish. And remember that Durham's focus right now seems to be Brennan's involvement. And of course, Andrew McCabe, if he was really that innocent, I think he would have just disappeared and been quiet. But he actually went and did an interview himself. And then, of course, we had this tweet from Lisa Page, who says, "Cheers, Andy." What are you drinking there? Is that strawberry wine? Strawberry wine. And 17. Her sweater says, "I'm done being quiet." Yeah, I know, because you're singing like a bird. Oh, okay. So, seems like she went through a lot of trouble to get that monogrammed on her sweatshirt, unless somebody just photoshopped that. But either way, looks like she's done being quiet. So, is she just sending this out as a cheers to Andy? Or is she also letting him know that, yeah, look, I kind of spilled the beans on everything, considering our texts have all been recovered? Anyway, let's move on to 3866. We get a Twitter status to the Axiom Report. And their Twitter status says, from Hannity, sources confirm that AG Barr is focused on something much bigger, much deeper, that will have far-ranging serious ramifications. Evidence is overwhelming and incontrovertible. Slam dunk case. Let's check it out.
We have more good news. The McCabe dismissal is, frankly, when you really look at it, it's a declination to prosecute on one specific issue. Here's my read between that and General Flynn news today, because we know that Barr just installed an outside counsel to look into the General Flynn case. So I'm reading the tea leaves here, and my sources confirming, the same sources that I've been using for you and getting the story right for 3 years, that the Attorney General, Bill Barr, is now focused on something much bigger, much deeper, that will have far-ranging ramifications, serious ramifications for that 1% that abuse power, that 1% involved in the corruption, those deep state bureaucrats who abuse their power. Because as we speak, the Durham Barr criminal probe is underway. I've been told by my sources that, in fact, it has gone deep, it has gone wide, it has gone far, and the evidence they are accumulating is overwhelming and incontrovertible. That's what my sources are telling me tonight. On this program, we refer to all of this as the investigation into the investigators. Now, according to reports, this investigation is scrutinizing the actions now, and we've been wondering when this is going to come. Former CIA Director John Brennan and many other current and former deep state officials responsible for the Russia hoax. Remember, the origins of the Russia hoax. That's the heart of the investigation. And now it has expanded out far and wide. Durham has spent weeks in Italy and Great Britain. That would tell me and indicate to me that the outsourcing of intelligence gathering and spying on Americans to circumvent American law is in play. I am told that this evidence that we already have, that it was about premeditated fraud on a FISA court. Nobody else in the media got that story right. We got it right on this program. The evidence is proven. It's a slam dunk case.
Slam dunk, you say? Wow, where have we heard that before? In post 3865. Very nice. It's almost like Hannity's sources are similar to our sources. All right, let's move on to 3867. 16 minutes after the hour of 10, we get a Twitter status to CJ Truth. Nice on you getting a shout out from Q, and CJ Truth did a nice little thread here. Thread hat tip to @BillPLC guy for helping on this one. Do you think nothing is happening? You might want to think again. A week in review. Do you remember when Q wrote on Sunday, February 9th of this week, justice? And that was this right here, 3849, just this justice. Number one this week, Chinese telecommunications conglomerate Huawei and subsidiaries charged in racketeering conspiracy and conspiracy to steal trade secrets. Also, Jussie Smollett indicted with 6 charges for his hoax of hate crimes. Number 2, Justice Department launches legal assault to roll back sanctuary cities. AG Barr announced that Giuliani had turned over to them investigative information about Ukraine corruption with former administration. Number 3, Trump goes on a Twitter spree highlighting that nothing ever happened to the crimes Tony Podesta did. Trump torches corrupt Judge Berman Jackson about injustices about Manafort, but gave HRC a pass. Michael Avenatti found guilty of all charges today. He is looking at some serious time. Roger Stone's sentencing evaluated by AG Barr as being outrageous. 9 years for lying to Congress. Rape is only a 3 to 5 years, and the 4 corrupt Mueller investigators all resigned. And like I said before, this will likely tie into the Manafort post above. Number 5, quote, I'm here to announce the indictment of Chinese military hackers for breaking into the computer systems of the credit reporting agency Equifax and for stealing the sensitive personal information of nearly half of all American citizens. That was from AG Barr. Number 6, Trump White House fires Alexander Vindman. It's Lieutenant Colonel! Trump White House fires Gordon Sondland. Trump NSC, National Security Council, removes 70 former Obama holdovers with maybe even more coming. 7, Graham sent a letter to Attorney General William Barr on Friday asking that he make 17 officials, I know, many of whom are identified only by title, available for interviews. That's a big deal. Number 8, Durham scrutinizing John Brennan's handling of Russian interference in 2016. Number 9, AG Barr installs outside prosecutor to review case against General Flynn. Oh, very nice. Amid turmoil in Roger Stone case and refusal to charge Andrew McCabe at the USAO_DC, the AG has sent outside prosecutors to review politically sensitive cases. Okay, so it sounds like some of these FISA warrants are about to fall apart. Number 10, this is only Friday afternoon. As I said earlier, for those crying about McCabe getting off for lying, you really don't understand the big picture. If you start really paying attention, then you won't be the kid on the left, but be the kid on the right. Enjoy your weekend. This kid on the left, and he's like, yo, when's it gonna go on to the two-tier justice system? And no, I keep following, and nobody's ever doing anything, and nothing ever happens, and I'm just so distraught about the whole thing. And this guy's like, dude, stop being a wuss. Just pay attention. Trust the plan. All right, Patriots, those are your Q posts for now. Let me take you over to this from the Hill. The U.S. military is reportedly advancing plans to make ready for a potential pandemic of the coronavirus. Last month, Defense Secretary Mark Esper gave the order to initiate pandemic plans that include quarantining service members who have traveled to China since February 2nd. The Military Times reported Thursday that troops around Asia have begun enforcing the directive at their own discretion on members who have traveled to China during the dates specified. Navy and Marine Corps messages reportedly sent out this week say the plans follow Department of Defense Global Campaign Blueprint for Pandemic Influenza and Infectious Diseases 3551-13, the Pentagon's plan for combating the spread of the flu and previously unknown diseases. The Department of Defense did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Hill. Okay, so it looks like they've already found 15 cases in the U.S., and it looks like there's a lot of panic over this, and I'm not really sure what to think of this just yet, but it seems pretty sketchy all the way around. But we do know is that we've had a lot of air traffic pick up over the last week. And I just want to leave you with this post from a year ago on the 15th of February last year. This was a post number 2734, where an Anon had posted this picture of an F-15. Yes, the F-15 plane pic Q posted February 15th. Q says, F-15, national emergency today. Q. So there you have it. We don't really know if this will end up turning into some sort of national emergency. It looks like it could very well be possible in other countries. And of course, the Trump administration has come out saying that they're well prepared for this. I have a feeling there's a lot of smoke and mirrors here. It definitely seems like China is making a play to kind of go after their dissidents and use this quarantine as an excuse. But it's always good to be safe when when talking about these kind of pandemic things. Of course, we've talked about bird flu and SARS and all these other kinds of things that have gone by and never really lived up to the hype. So it's hard to really know. But when it comes to health and safety, it's always better to be safe and sorry. But that's all I got for you for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. If you are new to my channel, please understand that from time to time, you're going to get unclicked and unsubscribed. It happens all the time. You don't need to send me a message to let me know. I'm already very well aware of it. Believe me, just do me a favor and recheck yourself, resubscribe yourself, and that way you can stick it to the man. All my alternate links are down below. My Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon, my DropSpace, all that stuff down below. My email is down below if you got information for me. My P.O. box is down below if you'd like to send something old school. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon is also down below. It's all in the video description, so please check there first. And that's all I got for you. This is Sir Patrick Mack. Until next time, stay safe.